In this week's Parshat Miketz, the story of Yosef in Egypt really begins. It starts with a description of Pharaoh's dreams and consequently Yosef's promotion, and goes on to tell us about the famine, the journey of the brothers, and Yosef's various plots to complicate it. I would like to now focus on a particular sequence of events in this story. Once the brothers have returned to Yaakov for the first time, they must convince their bereaved father to allow them to bring Binyamin back to Egypt, as to fulfill Yosef's request. Reuben takes the first attempt, and in Perek Daled Bet, Pasuk Lamed Zayin, tells his father, Et Shnei Banai Tamid Im lo avienu elecha, meaning, you may kill my two sons if I do not bring them back to you. Yaakov immediately shuts this down in the following pasuk by responding, Lo yered b'ni imachem, meaning, my son must not go down with you. Rashi explains that Yaakov saw no merit to Reuben's proposal because a grandfather would receive no satisfaction from the death of his own grandsons. As the narrative transitions into the next parak, we discover that the famine has worsened. Yaakov's sons once again must find a way to convince him to let Binyamin return with them to Egypt. This time it is Yehuda who tries doing so. In Perek Daled Gimel, Pasuk Gimel, he makes the following proposal: Shilcha hanar iti v'nechma neilcha nechye v'lo namut gam anachnu gam ata gam tapenu, meaning, send the boy in my care and let us be on our way, that we may live and not die, you and we and our children. He concludes this short speech by, in the next pasuk, saying, Anochi erevenu me'adei tevaksheni im lo haviti v'lecha hitzgati l'fanecha v'chetati l'cha kol hayamim, which translates to, I myself will be surety for him. You may hold me responsible if I do not bring him back to you and set him before you. I shall stand guilty before you forever. Reuven, while possessing great confidence, entirely misses the point. Surely his father, still torn by the loss of his previous son, would not take pleasure in losing his grandchildren. Yehuda, on the other hand, understands the basis of his father's distress and caters to it in his plea, saying, By mentioning what is at stake, Yehuda is assuring him that this risk is one worth taking, one which will ultimately protect the lives of those same grandchildren Reuven just offered to sacrifice. Yehuda, however, is also not without flaw. Had he been as bold as his older brother, to put in Yehuda's own words, they could have been there and back twice if they had not dawdled. In order to better define this relationship, I would like to now turn our attention to a different relationship between another set of two statements made by Reuven and Yehuda. In Perek Daled Bet, Pasuk Kaf Bet, in response to Joseph's orders, the brothers lament their misfortune, claiming that it is their punishment for what they did to their younger brother years ago. Amidst the complaints, Reuven says, Halo amarti alechem lemor el tachto be'ela velo shematem gam damo hine nidrash, or did I not tell you, do no wrong to the boy, but you paid no heed. Now comes the reckoning for his blood. Later in the Parsha, the brothers are once again in Egypt, this time being reprimanded by Yosef for their alleged thievery. In Perek Mem Dal Pasuk Tet Zayin, Yehuda says to Yosef, Ma nidaber ma nitzadek ha'elakim Matzah et on avdecha, meaning, what can we say to my Lord? How can we plead? How can we prove our innocence? God has uncovered the crime of your servants. Rashi explains that Elokim Matzah et on avdecha is referring not to their thievery, for it is illegitimate, but to their original sin against Yosef, or, as Rashi himself puts it, the creditor has found an opportunity to collect his debt. Reuven's statement calls on his resilience during the sin against Yosef. While it was brave of him to speak out against the actions of his brothers, he lacked the spiritual drive required to make a real impact. Yehuda's statement, according to the understanding granted to us by Rashi, calls on his own internalization of sin, punishment, and guilt. While the spiritual drive is present in Yehuda's grief, he lacked the courage to convince his brothers when it really mattered. Parshat Miketz is the story of three brothers. One lacks insight, one lacks initiative, and one reflects the potential of their complementary nature. Reuven and Yehuda respectively possess two human attributes, initiative and insight. Attributes which cannot succeed individually, but instead require each other's presence to make a person complete. Yosef is that complete person. His brother's failures created him, the product of their deficiencies, a product that possesses in tandem what they cannot contain, and thus, the brothers were left to suffer in the dust of their sin while Yosef triumphed in Egypt.